She sat in the corner, covered in dust and shame. The marketplace was full of noise. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved quickly. Some traded, some shouted, some begged. But in one corner, away from the crowd, a girl sat alone. She looked very different. Her skin was pale gray, covered in dirt and scratches. Her dark purple hair hung in tangled strands. Her thin arms hugged her knees tightly, as if she was trying to disappear. No one looked at her. No one cared. Children passed and laughed. A vendor threw an old cloth at her. "Go away, you scare customers." But the girl didn't move. She stayed in the same place, silent, still, and full of shame. Far across the street, a human named Jared was fixing an engine. He worked as a mechanic, helping aliens repair their ships. But his eyes kept drifting, back to the girl. Something felt wrong. She wasn't just dirty. She wasn't just homeless. There was fear in her eyes. A deep, tired fear. Like she had stopped hoping for help. Jared wiped his hands and stood up. He walked toward her slowly as he got close. The smell hit him. She hadn't bathed in weeks. Her clothes were torn. One foot was bare, the other had a broken slipper. But her eyes, big, golden, and wet, watched him carefully. He kneeled down and spoke softly. "Are you okay?" No answer. He tried again. "Do you need food? Water?" Still nothing. Only a flinch. Jared gently reached into his bag and pulled out a small protein bar. He unwrapped it and placed it in front of her. The girl didn't move. But after a moment, her thin hand shot out. She grabbed the bar and held it like a treasure. She looked at him again, still silent, still unsure. "What's your name?" He asked nothing. Then softly, almost like a whisper, she said, "Ali." It was the first word she had spoken. Jared gave a soft smile. "Nice to meet you, Ali. I'm Jared." He offered her his coat. She stared at it, then at him. Slowly, she reached out with shaking hands and touched it, like she had never held anything warm before. People around them stared. One alien woman scoffed. "Don't touch that thing. It's diseased." Another spat on the ground. Humans, always picking up garbage, but Jared ignored them. He helped Ali stand. She was light, too light. Her body had no strength. She leaned on him but pulled away quickly, scared she'd make him dirty. "It's all right," he said gently. "You're safe now." Ali looked around nervously, as if expecting someone to grab her. Her eyes darted to the shadows. Jared noticed this and asked, "Are you running from someone?" She didn't answer, but the look in her eyes said yes. Jared knew he couldn't leave her there. He led her through the streets. Some people shouted, some stared. Others moved away in disgust. But Jared didn't stop. He brought her to his workshop. It wasn't big, but it was clean and warm. He gave her a blanket and a place to sit. Ali curled up on the floor. She didn't ask for anything. She didn't complain. She just sat and looked at the tools on the wall like she didn't understand them. Jared made a cup of hot broth and handed it to her. She sniffed it, unsure. Then she took a sip, and her hands began to shake. Tears rolled down her cheeks. No one had been kind to her in a long time. Jared sat down nearby. He didn't ask questions. He didn't pressure her. He just said, "You can stay here tonight." Ali nodded slowly. As the lights dimmed, Jared watched her fall asleep. Still sitting, still wrapped in the blanket, like she was afraid to lie down. He didn't know her story. He didn't know where she came from. But he knew this much. No one deserved to be treated like trash. And somehow, deep inside, he felt that helping her was not just a good thing. It was the beginning of something bigger, something that would change both of their lives forever. She flinched when he touched her arm. The night was cold and the workshop was quiet. Jared stayed on the old couch, pretending to read a manual. But his eyes kept drifting to the girl sleeping on the floor. She hadn't moved much. Even in sleep, her arms were tight around her knees. Her head rested on the wall. She looked ready to run, even in her dreams. Jared sighed. He stood up, grabbed a folded blanket and walked quietly toward her. As he bent down and gently placed the blanket over her shoulders, she jerked awake. Her eyes flew open. She gasped and pulled back. Her hand hit a toolbox with a loud clang. She pressed herself into the corner of the wall, breathing fast. "It's okay," Jared said quickly, raising his hands. "It's just me." Her eyes searched his face, confused. She was still shaking. Jared took a step back to give her space. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said. "You were cold." Allie didn't answer, but slowly, she pulled the blanket tighter around her. Jared sat down again, keeping distance. He didn't ask questions. He didn't tell her what to do. After a long silence, Allie spoke. Her voice was quiet and rough. "You didn't hit me." Jared blinked. "Why would I hit you?" She didn't look at him. Her voice was flat. "They always did. When I moved. When I made noise. When I asked for food." Jared felt something heavy in his chest. She wasn't just homeless. She had been hurt. For a long, long time. "You're safe now," he said firmly. "No one will hurt you here." She looked at him again. Not with trust, but with confusion, like she didn't understand what safe meant. Jared pointed to the small shower room. "You can clean up if you want. Warm water, towels, soap." Allie stared at the door, then at him. "Why?" she asked. "What do you mean? Why are you doing this? I'm not useful, I'm not pretty, I'm not clean." Jared gave a small, sad smile. "Because you're a person." That answer seemed to break something inside her. She stood slowly and walked toward the shower room. Her steps were careful, like she thought the floor might disappear. Jared heard the water turn on, then silence. Then, sobbing. Sat down, hands clenched. What had she gone through? 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Then the door opened. Ailey stood there, wrapped in a towel. Her skin was a light silver gray now, no longer hidden under dirt. Her hair hung wet but smooth. But what caught Jared's eyes was her expression. Tears still ran down her cheeks, but her face looked softer, like she could finally breathe again. She stepped into the room quietly. Jared quickly turned away. "Sorry," he said. "I didn't think you'd come out so soon. I'll get you some clothes." She nodded. Jared pulled out one of his smallest shirts and a pair of soft pants. Too big but clean. "You can stay here until you're ready," he told her. Ailey sat down, hugged the towel, and looked at him. Then quietly she said, "They put me in a cage." Jared froze. "In the labor camp," she continued, "they made me clean the waste rooms. If I didn't finish fast enough, they hit me. If I cried, they took food away." I stopped crying. Jared listened, his jaw tight. "Then one day, I ran. I didn't know where to go, I just ran." She looked down. I was dirty, hungry, and no one helped. Everyone said I was filthy, that I smelled like death. Even other aliens. They threw stones at me. Her voice shook. "But you gave me food. And a blanket." Jared swallowed hard. "You didn't deserve any of that. Not a single bit." Allie's hands gripped the towel tighter. "I didn't think humans were kind. I was taught, humans take, humans conquer." He shook his head. "Not all of us." A long silence followed. Then Allie said something unexpected. "Do you have a mirror?" Jared nodded and brought a small one from the desk. She took it in her hands. Slowly, she looked at her face. She didn't cry this time. She just whispered, "I look like me again." That night, she slept on the couch, wrapped in fresh clothes, clean skin, and for the first time, in years, hope. But in the shadows outside, someone was watching. Something from her past hadn't let go, and soon, it would come knocking. Her reaction to warm water broke him. The next morning, Light poured through the old workshop window. Jared was already awake, making breakfast. The smell of toast and hot broth filled the air. He glanced at the couch. Allie was still there, asleep, curled under the thick blanket he gave her. But her face looked peaceful, different from before. He didn't want to wake her, but she stirred anyway, blinking slowly like her eyes weren't used to morning light. When she saw Jared, she sat up fast. Too fast. "It's okay," Jared said softly, holding up his hands. "Just breakfast." Allie stared at the food like she didn't trust it, but her stomach growled loud enough for both of them to hear. Jared smiled. "Eat." She picked up the bowl of broth with both hands and drank like it might disappear. The toast she ate more slowly, as if unsure if her fingers deserved to touch something so warm. That's when Jared noticed something. Allie kept scratching her arms. Not roughly, just soft little itches. But again and again. He sat across from her. "Still itchy?" She nodded, embarrassed. "I think you need a real soak," he said. "Come on, I'll show you something better." Allie followed him carefully. Jared led her to the old rusted side door behind his workshop. It creaked open to reveal a private bathing tank, built for alien clients of all sizes. The water was clean, steaming, and had soft lights underneath that changed color. Jared smiled. "It adjusts to body temperature. You'll feel weightless," Allie didn't step forward, she just stared, her lip trembled. "What's wrong?" Jared asked. Her voice cracked. "I've only ever been hosed down. Like trash. Cold pipes. Metal cages. I don't know how to be in water like this." Jared's chest tightened. "You don't have to do anything. Just float." She nodded slowly. He handed her a clean towel and stepped out. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Jared didn't want to interrupt, but something inside told him to check. He knocked lightly. "Everything all right?" No answer. He opened the door a little. "What?" He saw made him stop breathing for a moment. Allie was curled up in the center of the tank, fully under the warm water, her arms wrapped around herself, face lifted to the steam above. She wasn't crying loud, but tears flowed down her cheeks, not from pain, but from relief. Jared stepped back and closed the door gently. He sat on the ground outside the room. He had seen broken ships, cracked reactors, war-torn engines with no hope of repair, but nothing ever looked as fragile. As that girl sitting in the warm water, realizing she was finally being treated like a living being. When she finally came out, her skin glowed slightly in the light. Her silver tone looked natural again. Her eyes were still red from crying, but she was standing taller, just a little. She clutched the towel around her and whispered, "Thank you." Jared gave a small nod. "How do you feel?" "Lighter," she said. Then a pause. "Not clean, just lighter." He handed her fresh clothes. "Take your time." Later, while she sipped more broth, Jared finally asked, "Did you escape? Alone?" Allie froze. Then quietly, "Yes. Others tried to run. They didn't make it." She stared down at her fingers. "I didn't even plan it. I just ran when the guard turned. My feet didn't stop. I didn't look back." "Were you ever free before that?" She shook her head. "I was born there." Jared said nothing for a moment, then spoke gently. "You know, where I come from, no one owns another person. You're free now. No one has the right to chain you." Allie looked at him. Her lips parted as if she wanted to believe that. But before she could speak, a beep came from Jared's old security panel. He stood and walked over. His face changed. Outside the shop, across the street, stood a dark figure, covered in armor, with a mark on his shoulder, one Jared didn't recognize, but Allie did. She dropped her bowl. Her hands shook. "No," she whispered. "It's one of them." Jared moved fast. "Stay inside. Don't open any door unless it's me." He locked the panel and grabbed a tool from his bench, a plasma cutter, sharp and heavy. He looked at Allie. They don't get to take you back. He didn't speak, but she stared at him like no one ever had before, not with fear, not with pain, but with something new. Trust. She wasn't just dirty. She was branded. The silence inside the workshop was thick. Eli sat on the floor, hugging her knees. Jared stood at the window, his eyes fixed on the armored figure outside. The stranger hadn't moved. He didn't knock. He didn't speak. He just stood there, watching. Who is he? Jared asked without turning. Eli didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, Hunter. Jared turned to her. He's hunting you? She nodded. They call them collectors. They track runaways. Take us back. Jared's fist tightened. Take you back where? She didn't want to say it, but she did anyway. To the breeding vaults. Jared blinked. Breeding? She looked down. Her voice cracked. Some of us, the ones with rare genetics, were kept for reproduction, locked in dark cells, forced to. She stopped. Her hands were shaking. Jared stepped closer. You were one of them? She nodded once, slow and ashamed. Then, as if gathering courage, she stood and turned around. Her shirt slipped slightly off her shoulder, and Jared saw it. A thick, burned brand, shaped like a jagged ring. The skin around it looked old and scarred. Ailey's voice was barely a whisper. This means I'm property. It glows red when they activate the signal. It burns, and it makes me easier to track. Jared looked away, jaw tight. She pulled the shirt back up like she had shown him something unclean. I'm not just a runaway, she said. I'm stolen goods to them. If they catch me, I disappear. No trial, no mercy. Jared stepped forward and kneeled in front of her. You're not property, he said firmly. You're a person. I don't care what they burned into you. You're not going back. But he'll call others, Allie said. They always travel in pairs or squads. This one's just watching, to confirm I'm alive. The others will come by nightfall. Jared stood. Then we won't be here when they come. Her eyes widened. You're going to help me run again? No, Jared said. I'm going to help you fight. She stared at him like he had just spoken a different language. You don't even know me, she said. I'm nothing to you. He smiled gently. Maybe not before, but you've been treated like dirt your whole life. It ends here, even if no one else cares. I do. Her eyes filled with tears, but there was no time to cry. Jared began pulling equipment off his workbenches, old plasma cells, shock packs, signal jammers. He worked fast, his hands steady. Eli asked, What are you doing? He replied, I'm building a trap. By nightfall, the figure outside was gone, but Jared wasn't fooled. He knew what was coming. He and Eli sat in silence, waiting. Every creak, every gust of wind outside made Eli flinch. Then, they heard it, a faint buzz, like an engine hovering. Then, footsteps on metal. Then voices. Jared stood, handing Eli a small control box. Press this if anything happens to me. She gripped it tightly. Don't go out there. I have to, he said. They don't know what I've rigged. He opened the front door slowly. 3 armored aliens stood on the walkway. One had a chain. The other held a scanner. The third stepped forward. Human, the lead one said in a rough voice. We are collecting property that belongs to the Zarn Bio Authority. She is marked. You are interfering. Jared didn't blink. She's not property. She's free. And you're trespassing. The alien stepped closer. Give her up and we'll leave you breathing. Jared smiled coldly. Funny. I was about to say the same thing. He pressed a button on his bracer. A loud bang came from the side wall, followed by a flash of electric light. The aliens turned, confused. In that moment, Jared lunged. He slammed a shock baton into the side of the first alien's armor. Sparks flew. The alien howled and dropped the chain. The second tried to aim his weapon, but Ali from the doorway threw a metal tool that struck his visor. The third pulled out a blaster, but Jared kicked it out of his hand and punched him, hard across the helmet. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't clean. But it was enough. Within minutes, the attackers were on the ground, stunned, shocked, and groaning. Jared looked back at Ali. She was standing, breathing fast, the control box still. In her hand, "I thought I lost you," she whispered. "You didn't," Jared said. "You won't." Later that night, as the stars shined through the cracked skylight, Ali sat by the window. Jared cleaned his cuts and bruises in the corner. "You risked your life for me," she said. "I'd do it again." She looked at him, not as a stranger, not as a rescuer, but as something else, someone she could finally believe in. Then she whispered, "Maybe the brand doesn't mean I'm owned. Maybe it means I survived." Jared smiled. "And now, we make sure you never have to survive alone again." They came in the night, with chains. Darkness fell again over the workshop. But this night was different. Jared had reinforced every door, every window. Hidden motion sensors blinked softly around the walls. His tools were recharged, his hands were ready, and yet, something didn't feel right. Ali sat near the heater, wrapped in a blanket. She hadn't spoken much since the last attack. Her eyes watched every shadow, every flicker of movement like a hunted animal. Jared sat beside her. "They won't get in," he said calmly. "Not tonight." Ali didn't answer. She was staring at her arm, the one with the brand, the signal. "It's still glowing," she whispered. "Faint, but active." Jared frowned. "We broke their scanners." She looked up at him. "But not the signal inside me." He suddenly understood. "It's in your body?" She nodded. "Under the skin, a chip. That's how they always find us." Before Jared could respond, all the lights in the shop died. Every bulb, every panel, gone. The heater went silent. The security screens went black. Only the red glow from her brand remained. A whisper came through the dark, crackling through a voice. "Amplifier, return the property, human, or be removed." Jared stood slowly. "A lie. Get into the back room, lock the door." "No," she cried. "They'll kill you." "I've planned for this," he said. "Trust me." She hesitated, then ran, vanishing into the dark hallway. Jared walked toward the door, holding a heavy tool in one hand and a pulse detonator in the other. He opened it slowly. What he saw made his blood boil. 6 figures, tall, armored, and cruel. In their hands, chains. One chain had a loop shaped like a collar. Another had hooks. They weren't just here to take her back, they were here to make an example. Jared didn't wait. He threw the pulse detonator onto the floor and slammed the door shut. Boom! The blast sent out a shockwave of light, throwing the hunters off balance, but they were trained. They recovered fast. The first kicked in the sidewall. The second smashed a vent. The third fired an EMP round that knocked Jared backward into a pile of scrap. They swarmed the workshop. "A lie!" Jared yelled. "Run!" But before she could escape, 2 hunters grabbed her. She screamed loud and sharp. Jared rose, limping. Blood trickled down his cheek. He saw the chains. He saw Ali's terrified face, and he snapped. He grabbed a broken plasma torch and charged. The first attacker raised a blaster, but Jared ducked and slammed the torch into his chest. Sparks flew. The second reached for Ali, but Jared tackled him with full force. A third one wrapped a chain around Jared's arm and yanked hard, but he pulled back, kicking the alien in the knee. Jared fought like a man with nothing left to lose because in his heart, he'd already chosen. This girl wasn't a stranger anymore. She was family, and family didn't get taken, not without a fight. Suddenly, a high-pitched alarm rang through the air, then a burst of energy. The wall behind them exploded, and Ali stood in the smoke, holding the same control box from earlier. I remember what you showed me, she shouted. I'm not weak anymore. She pressed the second button. The floor under the hunters glowed blue and collapsed. They dropped into the hidden pit beneath the shop, one Jared had secretly been building all day. The floor sealed shut with a loud clang. The chains hit the ground. Silence. Only their heavy breathing remained. Jared dropped to his knees. Ailey ran to him, wrapping her arms around his chest. I thought I lost you, she whispered. He smiled weakly. You think I'd let them win? She laughed for the first time, just a little, and it sounded like hope. They spent the rest of the night sitting side by side, tired, bruised, and breathing. The threat wasn't over. More would come, but Jared now knew what he had to do. You need the chip out, he said softly. Ailey looked up. Can you do it? He nodded. I've removed worse things from engines. She gave a soft smile. Let's cut it out then. Because this time, they weren't just surviving, they were fighting back. She wanted to leave. He refused to let her go alone. The sun hadn't risen yet, but Allie was already packing. She moved quietly, folding the oversized clothes Jared had given her. She placed a half-broken navigation disc in her small bag, one she'd stolen long ago but never learned how to use. She was leaving, not because she wanted to, but because she had to. Jared had almost died. Twice. She couldn't risk it again. She turned and looked at him, sleeping on the couch wrapped in an oil-stained blanket, a healing patch over his ribs. He had fought for her, bled for her, called her family, and now she was running away for him. She slipped a piece of paper onto the workbench, a note, one word. Sorry. She reached the door, but the old floor creaked under her foot. Jared stirred, then sat up. You're leaving? He asked, voice rough with sleep. Ailey froze. I thought I could go before you woke up. Jared stood, wincing as he moved. You really think I'd let you walk out there alone? After everything? I have to, she said. They'll come back stronger, smarter. I can't stay here. Jared walked toward her. And I can't just watch you disappear. She looked down. You almost died last time. He nodded. And I'd do it again. But not from this couch. Not from behind a locked door. He picked up his old travel pack, already half-packed with tools and a power cell. You're not going alone, Ale, he said. If you're leaving, I'm going too. She blinked. You'd really leave your life, your job, your home? He smiled. You were never just a guest, Allie. This place stopped being home the moment you decided to walk away from it. Her voice shook. But I don't even know where I'm going. Jared placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Then we'll figure it out together. The old skiff hadn't flown in 2 years. It was rusted, dented, and smelled like grease and forgotten dreams. But Jared made it fly. Within hours, he had it hovering above the outskirts of the scrapyard town. The workshop grew smaller behind them. Just another memory fading in the dust. Ailey sat in the co-pilot seat, watching the stars slowly appear in the sky. It was the first time she had ever left a planet by choice. Where to? Jared asked. She hesitated, then said, There's a place, an old refugee world. I heard about it in the camps, a hidden colony. They say no one owns anyone there, not even their past. He nodded. That's where we're going. But it's across a trade zone, dangerous space, pirates, slavers. I've fought worse, Jared said, smiling. Besides, I have a secret weapon. She raised an eyebrow. You, he said. She rolled her eyes but smiled. I'm serious. What if they find us again? He grew quiet, then turned on a scanner. The chips is gone. She looked at him stunned. I took it out last night, he said. While you were resting, it's done. Her hand shot to her neck. She couldn't feel the brand pulse anymore. For the first time, her body was quiet. "Thank you," she whispered. "I didn't feel it happen." That was the point. They jumped into hyperspace. Ailey sat in silence, her fingers brushing against the cold window. Jared finally asked, "Do you regret it, trusting me?" She didn't answer right away, then slowly said, "I was scared. Not just of them, but of you, of your kindness. I thought it was a trick, that maybe you were like them, just better at pretending." Jared nodded. "And now?" She looked at him. "Now I think maybe I'm not just someone to save. Maybe I'm someone worth keeping around." He smiled. "You've always been worth that. You just forgot." Her voice softened. "Then remind me. Every day." He leaned back in the pilot chair. "That's a promise." As the stars streaked by outside, Alai looked at him. This human who had every reason to walk away, but stayed, fought, protected, and now followed her into the unknown. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to, because she mattered, and for the first time in her life, she let herself believe it. She was called filth, but he called her family. The stars outside the skiff shimmered like silver dust. Alai sat quietly in the co-pilot seat, watching them pass by. Each one felt like a small piece of freedom. Each, light, another promise that her life was no longer trapped in a cage. Beside her, Jared checked the map. "We're one jump away." Alai didn't answer. Her hand was pressed gently to her chest. "Right where the chip used to be," she whispered. "Do you think they'll still see me as broken?" Jared looked at her. "No," he said. "They'll see you the way I do." She turned her head. "And how's that?" He smiled. "Strong, brave, real." Alai's eyes softened. "You know, where I come from, they told us we were dirt, trash, filth, worth less than machines. You believe them?" "I had to. It made it easier to survive." She looked out the window again. "But you never looked at me like that, even when I smelled, even when I flinched. You didn't turn away." Jared leaned back in his chair. "I didn't see filth. I saw someone who deserved better." Alai nodded slowly. Then she reached into her small bag and pulled something out, a small metal ID tag. Worn, scratched, but readable. "I kept it hidden," she said. "Even when they beat me. It was my mother's, before she disappeared." Jared took it gently. "This was your real name?" "Yes, not the one they branded me with. This one is mine." The tag read, Alai Velthari. Jared looked at her. "A royal name?" She laughed, just a little. "Long time ago, my people had a line of caretakers. Not warriors, not rulers, just those who protected others." He handed it back. "Seems like it still lives on." She looked at him surprised. "In me?" He nodded. "You saved me too, Alai. Not just the other way around." Their ship landed quietly on the refugee world known only as Kara, a hidden colony where lost ones gathered. Orphans, survivors, runaways, no masters, no chains. As the hatch opened, cool air touched Ailey's face. She stepped outside, bare feet on soft ground, and for the first time, no one stared, no one pointed, no one looked at her like she was dirty. An elder alien woman approached them, tall, silver-skinned like Alai. She placed a hand on Alai's cheek. "You carry pain, but you also carry fire. You are welcome here." Ali's lips trembled. I don't know how to belong." The woman smiled. "You already do. Come, child." As they walked through the village, children played without fear. Families sat around small fires, some humans, some aliens, all together. Ailey whispered, "This doesn't feel real." Jared replied, That's how you know it's finally good. That night, they sat by a small flame. Ailey leaned her head against Jared's shoulder. You ruined my plan. What plan? I was supposed to survive alone, hide forever, be forgotten. Jared chuckled. Terrible plan. I know. Yours was better. He turned to her. What was mine? She smiled. To give someone like me a home. Silence fell between them. But it wasn't heavy. It was warm. Then quietly, Jared said, You're not filth, Ollie. She looked up. You're family. Her eyes filled with tears, but not of pain, of peace, of healing. She whispered, And you're mine. Jared reached into his coat and pulled out a small metal chain. On it, he had attached her mother's ID tag, cleaned, polished, shining. He placed it around her neck. You wear this now, he said. Not to remember what they took, but to remember who you are. She hugged him. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel weak. She felt loved. She felt whole. Far away, deep in space, a bounty report was marked, failed, status, target not found. The hunters would keep searching, but they would never find her again, because the girl they once called filth no longer existed. In her place stood someone stronger, a survivor, a fighter, a daughter, a protector, a family.